Welcome to Inside the Ring, boxing's official show of record. I am your host, Max Kellerman, and joining me, former heavyweight contender and world-class trainer, Malik Scott.
Yes.
He's also out of his mind. We'll get to that later. To my left, world-class informant, Ring Magazine's senior insider, Mike Coppinger. There you go. And to Mike's left, a man who only bets one color at the roulette wheel, former all-decade NFL running back, Shady McCoy.
Did you put that in the prompter?
It's time for the lead hook.
Crazy.
It is the first show, gentlemen, of 2026. And let's start with this. Terrence Crawford retired at the end of 2025. He was the true one and only super-middleweight champion of the world. He did that by beating Canelo Alvarez, the man who beat the man. And he's the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in boxing. So we're kicking off 2026, really, with a vacancy of sorts. Well, a vacancy for sure at 168 pounds. Like, who's going to fill that vacancy? And what does that mean for the super-middleweight division? We know Canelo's not going to stay there to fight Osley's Iglesias, right? Like, you know, he needs big fights. So what happens at super middleweight? I'll start with you, Insider.
Yeah, look, Max, I think we have a lot of exciting names right now at 168 pounds. I love Christian Mbilli. We just saw him in a firefight on the undercard of Canelo Crawford against Lester Martinez. You were on the call. One of the best fights, I thought, of 2025. And then Hamza Shiraz, I think, is a big name there. I think he has
Lester Martinez, too, dude.
Lester Martinez,
I like Lester, yeah.
But Hamza Shiraz, if you want to talk about a guy that has everything, the look, the way he talks, his punching power.
And experience now, because Hamza has gotten to the point where he fought for a belt. He had to deal with that, did not respond well to it, but that's experience that some of the younger guys don't have on that, on that stage.
Right. And speaking of Iglesias, not a big name yet, but as you would say, Max, Iglesias is like that.
Yeah, right.
This guy
like
can punch. He's long, he's lanky, he's a dangerous fighter.
Yeah.
But it got to be a name, though. And I think Shiraz is the right one because big fight with Edgar Berlanga, he beat him. And
sparked him.
Yeah, he spanked him back in New York. And that was a big fight. They blew it up, and he showed up and he showed out. I think for Canelo, it has to be a big name, and that's a big name.
I mean, what Shiraz showed me was the Ammo Williams fight, right? Like, forget about Berlanga because that was predictable, right? Berlanga's going to come at him. He's shorter, slower. Shiraz is going to throw straighter punches, hit him on his way in. And like,
but how it happened?
No question, he delivered.
Because Canelo couldn't knock him out.
The Ammo fight.
Ammo made him answer some questions.
And those were two prospects at the time, and he beat the brakes off Ammo, let's be honest. That was eye-opening to me, and I'm waiting to see that Shiraz again. Is that just an issue of matchmaking?
I believe it is because Berlanga was, to me, basically one-dimensional. We all know what Berlanga is. He's very heavy-handed, but that's about it. But I'm very impressed with Christian Mbilli and also Hamza Shiraz, the same two that Mike picked. Them are the ones that I'm looking forward to really taking control of the division.
I would love to see Canelo and Mbilli. Because Mbilli, Canelo,
I like that.
You need to put Canelo in with guys who he doesn't have to look for, and you ain't got to look for Mbilli. That's for sure. And Mbilli is at this moment. If you had to say who was the best bang for your entertainment buck in boxing right now, I think Mbilli. Like you're guaranteed he's going to bring it.
He's on a short list for sure.
And I'm trying to figure
a lot of punches.
I think this rematch is probably one of the only rematches one of the only fights I've ever seen, and I'm like, this should be immediately.
Right.
Like I know we're talking about these guys fighting these guys. These two should definitely fight again.
Let me ask you as a trainer though, put your trainer eye on Mbilli. The whole question with a guy like that, and like I had this every now and then a guy. Brandon Rios, Michael Katsidis comes to mind, where you're like, yes, they have styles that shouldn't be that tough to beat for elite fighters. But every now and then you get a guy who is so tough with just enough wrinkle in their game that they can take that style. It doesn't last long usually, but for a while can take that to the top. Brandon Rios and Katsidis almost got there, not quite. And Mbilli is kind of one of those guys, straight ahead, brute force. He has some technique. He can handle himself. But what do you think his ceiling is?
I really don't think he have a ceiling because, Max, he doesn't come across to me like, with all due respect, like the late, great Arturo Gatti. He came across like, I don't want to say like a great club fighter, but just someone that's going to give you your dollar's worth.
Who, Gatti?
I would say.
But Arturo Gatti, let's not forget, when he was coming up, was a stick and move guy.
Yeah.
Arturo
First,
Gatti
at the
beat Tracy
beginning.
Harris Patterson on the
Yes.
jab.
Yes, especially early on.
Then he realized, and this is something that Teddy Atlas, who you love to quote, used to, I've been quoting Teddy a lot recently.
Yeah.
We worked together for a number of years. But he used to talk about this. There's a certain, it sounds almost obnoxious to say about a guy like Gatti, that when a guy can do multiple things, right? He's multidimensional. The easy way out is sometimes the reckless brawler style, even though you get punished more.
It's the easiest way, yes.
It's harder to remain
and
disciplined
stick
sometimes.
to a game plan, absolutely.
That ain't Mbili. Mbili don't have a choice.
Mbili ain't-
He is a come-forward fighter.
And you know it.
What is the ceiling? So for example, Joe Frazier and Rocky Marciano
Yes.
shouldn't have been as great as they were given their style, but they were. Can Mbili be a great fighter? Can he reach greatness in that style? Is he going to tap out at like or plateau at really good?
I don't think he's going to plateau at all. I was really impressed with him that fight that he had with Lester. But I also think that I just said it. I'm so excited about the rematch. I feel as though that he's a come forward guy. But dealing with a come forward type of guy that fights like he do, I think the spirit and the character has everything to do with it. The morale behind the style. It's not just his style, it's the morale behind the style.
And the physical force sometimes, like Lester Martinez, I loved him in that matchup actually early because it came out the way I thought it would. But Mbili has some kind of next level physical strength and determination.
Yes.
You said somebody I thought that's a great comparison was Joe Frazier, right? Like, come forward. I ain't doing too much. I might miss here and there, but I'm coming to fight you.
Yes.
And McBilly, he does that. I remember when I watched the Lester fight. I'm like, damn, he's getting hit and he's also hitting. So you want a guy like that?
And it come across like
it's
his
mentally-
mind is made up before he goes in
it's mentally hard to beat a guy like that.
Now, Shiraz, we saw, as I mentioned, against Emma Williams, high upside.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then when he gets the shot against Adames, it's like, what happened? How much of that is Shiraz psychologically having to go through that process at least once, get his feet wet? He has a lot of expectations behind him. He must feel responsible for representing a certain way, I imagine. How much of that is Adames is just the next level fighter, and that's where Shiraz is? And how much of that is he needed that experience?
I believe he needed that experience, but also the mirror issue comes into play. The mirror issue comes into play because after the fight, it was a hand injury. That's why he looked like that. Me personally, I don't believe it was a hand injury. I believe Adames was everything wrong for him on that night. And speaking of that, Adames to me, and Billy is almost an upgrade of Adames as far as resilience, toughness, and coming forward. So I'm not even sure how Hamza would match up with that.
With Mbili.
With Mbili.
I mean, that might wind up being the fight if they both keep winning, right? What do you think about Hamza?
Yeah, look, I think what you said, Max, is dead on for Hamza. There was a lot of expectations, a lot of pressure. And don't forget, Adames was a top amateur. He's a very talented fighter. But I think the other thing is Hamza's like, what, 6'4"? And that was his last fight at 160. He was very weight trained.
By the way, that's a great point.
Yeah.
When you're 6'4", sometimes you just need to move up. Devin Haney. Devin Haney looked terrible at a certain point. It's like, you got to move up. And he did, and he looked better.
And I think
he
one
never
thing,
looked terrible.
Well, all right, by his standards. I agree.
I think one thing that clouds us in boxing with all these, weight classes, 17 weight classes, is sometimes when you're moving up one weight class, it's really not that much. Sometimes you need to move up two weight classes. We've seen guys do it before. I don't even know how long Hamza can stay at 168 with how big he is. But I will say, these alphabet titles, Hamza has two options right now to fight for a vacant alphabet title. And that's either Christian Mbili or Diego Pacheco. And I'm sure we know which ones he's going to pick. Because I think, look, Pacheco's a solid guy, but I think Hamza...
We had Diego Pacheco on the show, really nice guy. Go Diego Pacheco. But that ain't a hard shot. Like, you can either go through hell or fight that guy. I'll fight that guy.
But does that say something more about him? It's like, okay, well, if you had to pick somebody, obviously you would pick the easier fighter. But I'm talking about the pressure fighters, because when we watched him get pressured, he lost that fight against Adames. He lost that fight. And they're talking about dude that
he didn't get pressured like Mbili pressure.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So now when I look at him like, damn, well, if he fights Mbili.
On the other hand, we saw Hamza with real punching power before he outgrew the division. And Bili's going to have to get inside that reach and take those shots.
He's going to get inside, though.
You would think.
He's going to get inside. He's going to get inside.
You would think.
He's going to get in your chest.
A lot of that is the perception we now have of Hamza, which went from here and it got diminished a bit.
True,
If we think back to how we were thinking about Hamza against Ammo, maybe that's a little different. You know, there were guys, you like to bring up great fighters. Oh, he has the aggression of this guy. That, you know, a guy like if you took a little compact pressure fighter and put him in with Alexis Arguello, it's a problem.
There's no time in Hamza's career that I would see Christian Mbele and think that Hamza would like just go through him
I
ever.
agree with that. Yeah.
He's never looked that
Billy,
good that I
yeah.
could think he could just deal with that
I
on the easy. No.
But again, I just want to point out, I think Iglesias is maybe the best guy in the division. We don't know it yet because he doesn't really fight on American television. He fights in Canada. And let's be real, I think the sport is better off when we have guys that are attractions in Canada, specifically in Montreal, which Iglesias and Mbele are both fighting out of Quebec right now.
You see Shady watching because when Shady's eyes opens a little, it's because he sees a little athletic twitch.
Come on now.
You see it. You see it.
I mean, that was against Shishkin. Shishkin's a solid fighter, you know. So Iglesias, I love the twitchies, the lanky.
How tall is he again, Mike?
I think he's
About
6'1",
6'2",
something like that.
Iglesias, right? That's the thing. Because he's a tall southpaw without a big name yet, he is a little farther away because no one will fight him if they don't have to.
Right.
And unlike Mbele, where you know it's going to be a tough fight, but at least you know what you're getting. That might be a trickier puzzle to solve.
Well, speaking of Max, there was just a fight, and again, another alphabet title was ordered for Canelo to fight Iglesias. Canelo said, no, thank you. I'm still recovering from surgery, but let's be real. If you're Canelo and you're at this point of your career, you don't want to go through that guy try to get back.
You don't need that. Look, guys, there's also a vacancy of sorts at the top of the pound-for-pound rankings. Now, technically, everyone's moved up a spot in the ring rankings. So it's like Usyk 1 and the Monster 2. But I'll just mention that for the last several years, there's been a debate in boxing about who the number one pound-for-pound fighter it was, you know? Now, people like me who were proven right by the events of what actually happened would say Crawford. But others would argue Usyk and Inoue, and not always in that order, right? Sometimes a lot of people thought Inoue is the best pound-for-pound.
So I've never heard that.
I've heard it from plenty of people.
Yeah.
Is there a debate for the number one spot? Let's take a little straw poll right now. Is there a debate for the number one spot? Ring Magazine has Usyk 1 at pound for pound now in Crawford's absence. Inoue 2. Malik, you think it's Usyk 1, Inoue 2 apparently, right?
Yes.
Or do you have Larry Holmes 2? You know, he's
I believe when Crawford fought Canelo before the fight is when I really understood that the pound-for-pound list from people is a real circumstantial statement.
Okay.
Because going in, I already said Usyk is the number one pound-for-pound. I don't care how Terrence Crawford beat Canelo. Usyk still was my guy. And after the fight, Terrence, he is top 3 pound-for-pound, but I would have to put Alexander Usyk
So you
there.
still have Usyk over Inoue?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you have Usyk 1, Inoue 2. What do you got, Shady?
I'm going with Usyk 1, like you just talked about. I mean, he's been so dominant, right? And I think in a way he's doing a great job, but I gotta go Usyk, man. And it's just the way he's been fighting, though, right? You heavyweight, right? And you beating these bigger guys, you beating them down.
Now, Inoue has moved up more divisions than Usyk. However, those jumps are smaller.
Right.
And Usyk, in now where he is now, he has not been knocking people out the same way. Until then, even as he moved up, he was beating people up and knocking them out. And now that stopped, whereas Usyk only made one jump, but it's a big jump from cruiser to heavy.
Right?
And he's still still knocking
like
guys
Tyson
out.
Fury, he really handled Tyson Fury.
He did.
And it's Tyson Fury we talking about.
Yeah.
How about you?
I got to go with Usyk as well, Max. And again, what you said is why I have him number 1. I mean, Daniel Dubois is a very, very solid heavyweight.
Solid
he picks him apart like no problem.
I wouldn't call him solid. I call him dynamic.
Dynamic,
He's
yeah,
a
that's
dynamic
fair.
heavyweight.
That's fair.
He has speed, he has power, he has athletic ability. He didn't want it at the end of the Joe Joyce fight, but he has since righted the ship.
Yep.
But he no question, Usyk dominated him.
Usyk did to him. Usyk could do it
believe
all.
twice.
You know,
Did he twice? He
southpaw
did
twice.
Somebody
2
else he
knockouts.
beat
Two
twice.
knockouts twice, yeah.
Now, I'll say this. It's a clean sweep. So there is, and on this show, there is no controversy. I believe it's Usyk for one reason. They're both super fighters, right? And Bam might join them pretty soon. Usyk has a bag that reminds me of Crawford. No matter what adjustment you make, Tyson Fury makes great adjustments. He made adjustments and was playing with Usyk in the middle of that fight. Playing with his food, toying with him. Oh my God, Tyson Fury just separated himself from Usyk. And Usyk made another adjustment and came back and beat him. And then beat him in the rematch. He's like Crawford that way.
Yes.
He's like Crawford, not the puncher Crawford is. I think that was the difference. They're very similar. Crawford's a better natural puncher than
He can
than
adjust
Usyk.
on the fly.
But he can adjust, and no matter how many, the reason I think Usyk is one of the very greatest fighters of all time, like top 20 pound for pound already, is no matter who you would put him in with from any era, no matter what they did,
He'll find a way to win.
he's going to, whether or not he winds up winning, against anyone. He's going to compete with that guy.
Yes, he is.
At a high
He will
level.
compete.
It's like that old Holyfield where he can box with the smaller guys, but in the big dudes, I can bang with them too. He
Well
bangs
said.
with all the bigger
Yes.
guys.
And
clip
that's
some
the
of 'em.
historical competition
yeah.
for Usyk at cruiserweight, and then for cruiserweights who moved up to heavy.
Yeah.
Right? It's going to be, who do you like, Usyk or Holyfield?
Yeah, and I think it really cannot be can't be overstated what Usyk's doing while also dealing with the pain of his country being invaded. He has little girls.
That's still going on. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I mean,
It's
Usyk
been
is
unbelievable.
and he's carried the flag of Ukraine with great pride, and he's done well
Yes, he
by them.
has. Yes, he
And
has.
also like Holyfield, Usyk was kind of stablemates. Holyfield was stablemates with Pernell Whitaker. And Pernell was the guy you would say, oh, come on, he's different than Meldrick Taylor and Evander Holyfield and Mark Brilliant, all the stablemates. Whitaker's easily the best. But by the end of their careers, you have to consider who is better between Whitaker and Holyfield pound for pound. I take Pernell still, but
take
Holyfield's
Pernell,
way
too.
up there.
I'll take Pernell.
Usyk was coming up with Lomachenko, right?
right.
And Papachenko,
Yup.
and you would be like, well, Usyk's really, really good, but
Loma-
Loma's
Yeah.
special. But when all is said and done, Usyk might rate ahead of Loma.
I agree.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if there's a debate
Yes.
about it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
But
no
some
debate, no
people,
debate.
some
Yes.
people,
Seem like it's not
Loma
even
at his
debated.
best was a
No
lot, but I
debate.
agree with you.
He was, but if you look at Lomachenko's resume, not to get off topic, but Lomachenko's resume leaves you wanting. What's his biggest win?
Yeah.
What's Lomachenko's signature victory?
Well, like Crawford, it's not his fault. He fought everyone
yeah.
and rampaged through divisions until he got into a division that was a little big for him and still was pretty
And
dominant.
he fought
in that
everybody early too. I don't want to wait. I think he got his first world title at his second fight.
It was Gary Russell?
No, he
that
beat
was
Gary
their fight.
No, it was
He fought for a
Salido.
title.
Yeah, Salido.
It was Orlando Salido.
He
I
lost,
called
though.
that
Yeah,
fight.
he lost.
But I'm saying, like, for you to, I want it right now. Give me the best right now.
Yes.
Where people don't do that, and they really ducked Lomachenko.
did.
Lomachenko was 396, I think it was,
And won?
and won.
Jeez.
And by the way, the
bad boy.
one guy he lost to was
Brother?
a Russian, basically pro. You know how because
Yeah.
because they were pros who were basically
Yes.
kept amateurs, and he beat him twice in rematches. He might
He's
be
undefeated,
Lomachenko in almost 400 fights might be probably has the strongest argument as greatest amateur of all time. Turns pro. By the time he turned pro, maybe he's in the middle of his prime, maybe, but he's had 400 amateur fights. When you combine amateur and pro,
Right.
Lomachenko's a
Right.
lot.
Yes, I
Anyway,
would say.
so we agree. Inoue won. Sorry.
Inoue.
Usyk won. Inoue 2.
Yes. But one thing I want to
way.
say, though, I think Dimitri Bivol always gets overlooked in these conversations.
special, too.
He is
Yes, he
special.
is.
There's no question. A lot of great fighters at the top.
special. Yeah.
Guys, last week Terrence Crawford said 38 is
The
old
GOAT.
in boxing. I've been boxing since I was 7. I have nothing else to prove. I have nothing else to accomplish. What more can I do? And now here's the interesting part about what Crawford said. Quote, they're not going to give me credit anyway, so it really doesn't matter. Now let me say this, guys.
I'm not big
Like,
on
so how's history going to remember Terrence Crawford? We'll save the hater for last.
that.
Because it sounds like he says even if he kept fighting, and let's say Janabek was never caught with PEDs, and he fought and beat Janabek, and then he fought and beat Boots, and both Janabek and Boots went on to have great careers, that would have no impact on his legacy. I think it would, but it does bring up that in an era of social media where everyone has a megaphone, these athletes are seeing every little bit of criticism.
Yes.
It's not like the 5 biggest sports writers in the country or the 5 biggest guys on TV in the country or in the world are criticizing you and some are praising.
Everyone has a stage. Yes.
Everyone. And
Yes.
you were never going to get unanimity in opinion. There will always be people who nitpick or point out what you could have done better and everything. And so Bud seems to be reacting to that. My sense is it's good that he's walking away because if you keep fighting, eventually you'll lose because you get old.
That's how it happens, yep.
He's 38. On the other hand, if he were to have 2 more fights and one of them was against Boots and he won both those fights, guys like Coppinger
Yep, there you go.
would have less to say as time went on. They would have to say, Max, you were right all along. And that's really what I want you to fight, Bud. I need you to be able to make this guy tell me that I was right all
Well,
along.
look, again, I never said you were wrong. I'm just trying to take you off of you're used to the hot takes. I'm just saying, look, the era is not over yet. Let's just wait and let it play out. That's all I was trying to say. And yes, you're right, Max. If Crawford does go fight like Janabek before the PEDs and beats a Boots, of course that's going to strengthen his legacy. Why wouldn't it?
But I don't think it's enough for some people. Like, for me and you, I said, hey, look, man.
Totally disagree with that.
But the way he did Canelo like that, he went up 3 weight classes and shut out the pound-for-pound king, oh, my God, the face of boxing. I would think that would be enough, and it wasn't because
everyone is giving him his credit, though.
Eddie Hearns, even sometimes Mike, they're like, okay, yeah, he's great, but who'd he fight? So it's always going to be a question.
There are two things, though.
It's going to be a question.
Because everyone has a mega, because of social media, and everyone's
Planet.
opinion can be thrown out there in a way that can reach the athletes. You have different camps of people. You have people who notice what you just pointed out, the kind of pageantry and the branding of it all.
Yep.
Canelo was the #1 star in boxing. And then you have hardcore people, let's say Coppinger, who will say, yes, but Canelo is probably past his best days.
Yeah.
Okay? So by beating, let's say, Janibek and Boots consecutively, had Janibek not been caught with PEDs, and if they both were then to go on to have great careers after Crawford beat them, no, it might not affect the people that you're talking about who are like, yeah, but who's Janibek and Boots, the casuals. Right. But the hardcore fans will take note, right? So there are different camps of people with different points of view. You can't ever shut them all up, but you can always strengthen your case.
Sure, and for the record, I never once said that Canelo was past it and tried to discredit Crawford, because I don't think that's fair when I picked Canelo to beat him.
Yes.
I don't want to be on both sides of the argument.
He get his flowers. That's playing.
He got his flowers.
Bro, everyone gives Terrence Crawford his flowers. If he would have stayed, they would give him his flowers.
That's how he's always been.
It's like kind of playing a victim a little bit. Well, if I stay, people still going to have something to say. Well, welcome to life.
Right, that's life.
Like,
right.
Michael Jordan goes through this 30, 40 years later with him and LeBron.
Right.
Welcome to life. Overall, though, people are saying you are a GOAT. What type of GOAT? Oh, it's a beautiful
Well, he's a
lesson of discussion.
goatee. He's a goatee. Greatest of the era. But when you're a goatee, you would like to. That means you're in the GOAT conversation. But you can strengthen
that conversation.
Yes. You can strengthen your GOAT conversation, because there can only be one, by making the best goatee argument you can make.
So
right?
why we don't have never had this conversation?
Mm-hmm.
Why would, when we talk about Bud, talk about how people was ducking Bud?
Yeah.
He talks about it.
No
That's
doubt.
what we never talk about that. I wanted to fight y'all champions that y'all love to talk about. But you know what happened? Your champions that y'all parade, they didn't want to fight me. That's why I look at Bud as the GOAT. Because the guys he got the chance to fight, he beat their ass. And he told Canelo,
anybody.
he said, yo, after I stop a mudhole on your ass, you'll be just like them.
Yes.
I remember that.
Got nothing to
What do you
say
got, Stone
about
Cold
it.
Steve Austin reference here?
That's still in my head.
Bud, if you are
flowers.
retired
Bud
for
is
good,
special.
congratulations, champs. You're one of the greatest of all time.
Yes, he is.
And don't worry about it.
GOAT.
Don't worry about that.
Goated.
Big GOAT.
For those watching on YouTube, head over to The Zone to catch the rest of the show. Coming up, we map out the future for the aforementioned Alexander Usyk. This is Inside the Ring.
Let's do it.